Okay, good evening. Welcome everybody on the next episode of Mindset Shift. And today we are going to discuss the curse of being reliable. To start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Yogesh Kabir. I'm an executive and leadership coach. I run an organization called Alternative Leadership. We specialize in leadership development, team management, how to create collaboration and process driven organization. To take this conversation forward, I would like to uh, bring on stage Akansha, who would be having this conversation with me. Welcome, Akansha.
Thank you. Quite a dramatic stage entry. Thank you for the entry. Hello, everyone. I am Akanksha Singh. I am founder of Alternative Leadership, a certified coach, and a facilitator. I work along with Yogesh Kabir, and we partner with companies to provide people solution. And it's the work that I love. And I'm happy and excited for today's discussion. Let's see how it unfolds.
Great. So we can dive in the topic. So why we are calling it the curse of being reliable? So of course, being reliable means uh, being having the ownership of the work that is assigned to you, and everybody knowing that you are going to do it anyway, right? So that is being reliable. But should it be the good thing that you are a reliable person? uh, Everybody can be sure that you are going to do it, so as such it should be a good thing. But how, like anything, if taken to extreme, becomes a negative things. And that is what we are going to discuss today, that how probably being too reliable becomes create a emotional and mental toll on the person who behave in that way. So I would like uh, to open the floor. Right, go
Yes,
ahead. Yeah.
I think being reliable, or in fact, being reliable, is one of the good qualities, especially when we are talking in the context of group or team, right? Being a team player, and if I'm expecting a work to be done, or if I'm asking a team member to get the work done, at least there should be a factor of reliability.
Right.
But we are extending that conversation today because oftentimes that the ownership, which is the other side of reliability, goes too far,
Right.
or it becomes a burden to be a reliable, and that's when it start becoming a curse. That's when it start becoming a trap, because now the goodwill that you have earned being a reliable team member, an employee, or a group member has become a trap for your own growth.
Right.
Interestingly, I wanted to ask, how do you how do you define, or how do you put this in context in different way?
Right. So how being reliable becomes an issue at large is because when you are being reliable, it convert into an invisible labor, right? You are consistent, you are competent, you are calm, so you are more likely to contribute, but it becomes invisible. People don't see the effort that you are making, and you are doing your work, and you are expecting that people acknowledge that you are going above and beyond your responsibility. But over time it becomes invisible work, and it takes emotional, physical toll on you, and you are not also progressing proportionally in your career. You are in a way being reliable because you think that that would lead to better career growth, better opportunity, but that is not happening because it kind of become a invisible lever. People are not noticing it. And I think I would like to include the gender perspective in this also, and I would like to express your view how the gender roles plays in this regard.
Interestingly, gender disparity has a bigger say in this context of being reliable, too reliable, or when it becomes the curse of being reliable. Because oftentimes, if we dissect the work of reliability, these are often the work of emotional load or the not too sexy administrative work, the task that nobody wants to do, the planning and the execution of small celebration to big celebration, putting together a coordination of things or series of events and things like that. The back end work that oftentimes, surprisingly or intentionally, goes or get assigned to women in the team, be it taking the meeting notes or setting up the calendars and things like that. So that's why I said that interestingly, the gender disparity has a bigger say because all these emotional load, emotional work gets assigned, and this is often the work which is required to get executed, but it is not seen as a promotional work. So you are getting the work done. You are making sure the end pieces are fit together or there are no loopholes in the execution, planning, and things like that. But this is not getting acknowledged or recognized. So oftentimes it becomes a thing of women doing the work but not getting promoted because there's this idea that this is not a promotional work.
Right, I think, and it's a very common occurrence because things like celebration, fun Friday, exit celebration, birthday celebration, but they become some way responsibility of the female members of the team because of the role that the way our society defined it. And so every time you volunteer for a work, in a way it becomes kind of a given that you are anyway going to do it, right? And it's keep adding up, adding up, adding up, and you don't realize that when you are uh, getting saturated and nobody is acknowledging how much uh, effort you are putting in. And I think the reason behind why it becomes an invisible work is a very interesting conversation because our brain actually is trained to find inconsistencies, right? So if something is going according to the expectation of the brain, then it would not notice it. But when something happen which the brain did not expect it, then it becomes a thing for the brain to give the attention to it, right? So if somebody is very much known that he's going to anyway do it, she's anyway going to do it, then it will never come into the attention of the people that it's not his or her work. They are doing the extra work, and it never gets noticed. And I think the beautiful example is like a clean air. we when we have it, nobody notices, but when we don't have it, then only we notice ki, okay, now I am having breathing problems.
Yes, and then you realize the importance of air plus importance of clean air, and you also realize there's a rhythm to the breathing, and the rhythm changes every time you laugh, you shout, you run, you jog, and things like that. Nuances. You miss the nuances every time there's a missing piece. Um, Absolutely, because I feel the emotional or the disappearing part here doesn't just mean that somebody is just taking care of execution of some sort of an event, or is just taking care of blocking the calendars of everybody who's going to attend the meeting, or just taking the notes and minutes of the meeting, which is anyway going to be of one page. It's not just the action, it also that behind the scenes your mental and emotional energy is getting drained up. You're also making sure that there are no risks or fallout from this plan that requires you to be present with that work. And oftentimes nobody volunteers for this disappearing act. As I was while I was researching about this and many interesting things I was reading up, there was this thing one particular person has presented, and this was what the person was promoting through her work was that don't cut the cake. And there's a presentation that she gives and it's visible on YouTube as well, that every time, and she goes ahead and explains this phrase, that every time there's any sort of a celebration, there is a cake, but there's always somebody who cuts the cake. Now, that somebody who always cut the cake happens to be a woman, okay? And it's not a designation act. Oh, the person who is the highest in hierarchy gets to cut the cake. No, actually, people who are in higher authority, they actually step away. They just let somebody cut the cake, and that somebody always happens to be somebody, a person who is from a gender which is of women. So, again, where I want to highlight my point is it's not just one of the task, the action, but there's lot goes at the back end as well. And most performance reviews don't count this, but somebody has put in a lot of effort, lot of investment in it, time, energy. So where is the productivity going? So that also brings the question. Somebody is doing a lot of work, but it's not being accounted for, then the productivity was there, but not channelized.
Actually, interestingly, I just got a thought that uh, so in the 90s movie there was a common theme that a heroine would have a friend who is very good, very reliable, always there for her. But then comes a hero who is kind of a bad boy, and in the starting he'll annoy the girl, he'll make her life miserable to the point of even harassment, but it does not depict like this. But then he will do a good thing, and then heroine will fall for that person. And whenever I used to watch this trope in the movies, I would always think, he's doing such a basic thing, how can heroine fall for this? But this is exactly is what can we say that expectation management, right? So her expectation was that he is inconsiderate, does not care, he's annoying, but then he does a very basic thing, but the difference of expectation baseline and that action is too high, and that get noticed. Oh, I probably uh, think incorrectly of him. Then you show the person in a new light, and it really used to bug me ke he's doing the most basic thing, how can you fall for it? But I used to think that it's just movies, they that is how they saw, but there is some kernel of truth around this also.
Basically, you have highlighted one of the cognitive bias. Our brain looks for novelty, something that's out of the order, something that's loud, something that's out of shape, and your attention is caught. So, anything like air, once air is anyway available to you, you won't notice. But if there's something difference in the air, you will notice. And that goes for, and that's why we are discussing it, this topic on the tangent of curse, that if somebody is consistent with their work, their promises, their output, they become a background noise, white noise. But somebody who was not aligned with the expectation and does something, they got your attention. So it's interesting actually that what you said, movies used or showed our cognitive bias, but it romanticized in such a way that it again set a very high expectation and a very different, or sometimes I would say it's a distorted expectation of how we perceive different genders and their roles and everything.
So I think where I would like to take this conversation is how that impacts the teams, and why it happens, and how it originates from in the organizational level. So that is what I would like to ask you. So what impact this can have on team performance or other members around the reliable one?
There's a Gallup study that found that employees who feel undervalued or not seen, unseen because of this are 2.7% more likely to be actively disengaged at work, even if they are high performers. So clearly, people are gonna get demotivated, they are gonna disengage from the work. It's gonna, it is going to seep in, or somewhere the dissatisfaction from the work's gonna seep in. People are going to find working or going to that workplace uh, not a very positive thing. Plus, somewhere the whole untapped potential is gonna come across, or somewhere those people are gonna come across as lazy, people who are not owning the work. These are few of the things that would be visible. I'm sure there are few things that you can point out which I'm curious about apart from this, and from your perspective, what those are.
I think so. From leadership perspective, they would see that things are going right. So everything is happening. What's the problem in that? But they don't realize that somebody is filling up the cracks, but the cracks are there, right? And if a one person, the this hero of the team, keep doing all the hard work, keep pitching on, or compensate for other people's unreliable or subpar work, then I think it also stop other from growing and learning, right? Because when I know that let's say he's anyway going to correct it, so I'm more likely to leave mistakes, right? So interestingly, recently I read similar on LinkedIn that if you want to improve your writing skills, send your email without rewriting it in a first go, because you know that you are not going to read it and you are not going to correct what mistake you are making. Then you would be more focused to not make the mistake in the first place, right? So if you know that somebody else is going to correct it, I'm more likely to be relaxed, not taking too much effort to be doing the work in the right way, correct way. And leadership is in Reliant, they don't see it that one person is doing all the work. That means others are not growing. At some point, this is going to be an issue for the whole organization, for the whole team, because it is creating a sort of a culture of dependency around that person.
I think what you pointed out is also the other side of mediocre work, because there's always somebody who will take care of these things, these small nuanced um, corrections, risk calculation of things, whether things are going in right form, best form or not. People will start putting out mediocre work, and then the average work would be a mediocre work, not just the first draft in that context. Also, I'm sure we have seen this with our work that it will start confusing the role and responsibilities. Somebody has a role, but that person is also handling a lot of responsibility from somebody who has a different role. So it's going to create confusion in the teams for other teams to collaborate as well. And it's going to create conflict within teams as well, because at some point this is gonna create a friction. The one who is doing a lot of work gonna feel burned out, unfair, unjust, not being recognized, and all sorts of things. The one who is dependent is not gonna take everything for, or be grateful for a lot of help that he or she's or they are getting. And somewhere there would be the third person or the third view where things would be like, why just these two own their own work and respect the boundaries? And to sort things out, there would be conflict.
This has actually happened with me in my first job. So uh, when I joined the organization, the person who was managing everything was not that experienced or competent. So I used to do a lot of the work that I was not actually supposed to do. But later on, that role becomes different. So earlier I was kind of a subordinate, but later I become kind of a on the same level, on partner, both partner level. But then I was like that I shouldn't be doing that thing because that's not my role. But in a way, I created that situation by doing the work which anyway was not my responsibility, but because I was doing it, it kind of a default became my responsibility, even when I was never being assigned that role. And that actually later lead to a lot of confusion in roles, lot of conflict. Uh, but nobody knew better at that time.
Thanks for sharing an experience from your own work experience. Uh, I think it has, we have seen a lot of such cases in our work projects with companies where many times the root cause of conflict is confusion, role confusion, responsibility confusion, and because that work has to be done, somebody takes up that role, fills the gap. But how long does it's going to sustain? And at some point the machinery breaks down because it's not a very strong foundation based machinery. It was just an temporary solution. What I have recently realized is because I'm part of some sort of a structure where there were things and responsibilities that we took up to make the functioning smoother. I think I was always very clear what I will be doing and what I will not be doing. And somewhere, if today I have to introspect my own experience of that responsibility and having this clarity, I was never disappointed. I was never upset that I overdid. I knew that my main priority is my work, running my own business, and the other thing that I'm mentioning, the work, the task, the actions. I was always very clear that it's crossing the boundary or it's within the boundary. I would question it. And I think listening to you, I was sort of introspecting at the back of my mind. And I think I felt I have a satisfaction that I did not overdo. I did not let myself experience the burnout. And I think that clarity came because we have worked on lot many projects where some people are just overworked, burned out, tired, exhausted, and just in a very dire situation where they're like, I'm done with it. And we may not be able to do justice to explain how they may feel or they how much of stress they must be experiencing, how much of burnout they must be experiencing, but it's lot.
Right. So I think that raises a very beautiful question, that this lead to so much extra burden, burnout, but why do people still do it?
Now we are going to the part of behavioral aspect of somebody, let's say, who is a reliable, somebody who takes care of the team, find the gap, does the risk analysis way beforehand, and saves the team, is the savior, basically, the God complex, somebody who has. When it comes to the behavior aspect of it, oftentimes the person is seeking that opportunity to shine. That person is seeking opportunity to be a savior, to be of help, to be seen that the person is adding value. Because it could be that somewhere in some sort of a experience of life or the major part of the life where we form our identity, our self identities, and our outlook towards life, we may have formed a belief that what I am doing or what I'm bringing to the table is not seen valuable enough. So, in that dire attempt to bring value to the table, you seek every small and big opportunity to bring value to the table, which is oftentimes fine if there's something that provides you an opportunity to bring your skill set to the table, which, let's say, for this particular task or this particular project, nobody in the team has. There, it is good. Being altruistic helped you save the project, added a shining star on your shoulder. But if this goes unchecked, it becomes an identity that for that person it becomes like I'm a savior. I'm trying to save. I'm trying to hold everybody together. It's me who is helping the world, saving the world. But somewhere it's gonna create lot of negative emotional and mental experience for you because you are not seeing your own belief that is limiting you in your career growth now. That's very first thing, which is again in simple terms it's approval seeking behavior. You're wanting to be approved for your work, so you keep doing it, keep taking the um, opportunity every now and then. It also goes on the side of perfectionism. What is your thought on that?
No, I think you are rightly pointed out that, and approval seeking is very much uh, inbuilt, at least in Indian upbringing, because for us, father, teacher, parents are like an authority figure, and we always need approval for them to understand what is right and wrong, right? So I think that goes into adulthood and becomes approval seeking from boss or every other member, even if their approval does not matter. And I think that you rightly point out, it also goes towards perfectionism. So many of the time people do the task because they think he would not do to the level that I want, right? Or he will do, then anyway I'll have to make it correct, or I'll have to pitch in, then why waste time, let me do it my way, right? So many times and managers comes in, do the task because probably they want it to at a certain level, and they don't know how to coach or how to make their team members competent enough to create the work at the level that they want. And I think recently I met one of my friend who is actually the country head of a consulting firm, and he was sitting and he got a consulting project from their team, and he saw it, oh, they are not doing the work anyway, I'll have to do it. So he went for 15-20 minutes, do the corrections, send it to their team. And I was looking that by doing it, you are making sure that they don't reach to the level that you want. So I think that perfectionism, and I think some part of guilt also, that if I am not doing it, or if I am saying no, then probably I'm a bad person, or it's going to hinder my progress in the organization. That also plays a role.
Absolutely. And I would dial back to one of the statement where we have grown up seeking approval from parents. And as you stated that even we continue doing that even if it's not required, the approval from a parental figure is not required at the workplace, we still keep doing that. But what is required is the task which has been assigned to you, do it to the best level, the success metrics, KPIs that has been decided or agreed on. Coming to the part of people pleasing, I think because I want to step ahead and talk while many times this comes up as a question in workshops, in my coaching conversations, individual coaching conversations with client is that they don't know how to say no, and they end up in the loop of pleasing people even if they intentionally do not want to. So somewhere it started unconsciously, but now they do not have to. they do not have resources, and initially they were not hand holded to take up such conversation, take up the risk, understand the courage, and whatever the impact it will bring by saying no. They end up continuing people pleasing, and then again it goes on and on. So I think it is very clear that approval seeking behavior is the behavioral aspect of why people want to keep becoming a reliable person, which turns curse for their own career growth. Second is being the perfectionism, which again hinders your growth because if you are the team lead or the manager, you're not learning how to delegate. And also you're not letting your team members to rise to a level where that work can be done. You're defining the level of perfection. And the third one is of course guilt and people pleasing behavior, again lack of understanding or not having the tool to say no brings in. But now I do want to, because see, we started the conversation with reliable, being reliable, then why there's a curse to being reliable. We unraveled the angles, the gender angle, why or what work comes under such reliable work and things like that. We dissected the part of what could be the reason the person is doing it. But now stepping forward, what if someone is wanting to move ahead out of it? How should that go forward with?
I think the Simranjit have pointed out the answer to it, that being reliable is not the problem anyway. Being reliable without limit is. And I think creating boundaries, communication, and understanding where you are not losing your self respect is, I think, where the answer might lie. So thank you, Simranjit, for bringing that topic up. uh, and I think that goes to very much what can be done is, you don't want to go to the other extreme or and become not reliable, because being reliable is inherently a good quality and it's going to take your career ahead, there's no doubt about it. But how we can have better boundaries, and I think uh, how to get out of it without self sabotaging. So I think simple things that can be done is uh, avoiding too much justification or over explaining, that okay, I have been keep doing that but I won't be doing this now, because then you are making sure that uh, people know this, that now you are not going to do it, right? Because, and not being passive aggressive, that hey, I did last time but I'm not going to do this time, or going into silent withdrawal, ke last time I did it, now I'm going back, I won't be doing this time. So I think the process have to be in a way that you are gradually creating boundary and being visible with your act also. So I think ensuring that whenever you are doing the extra work, you make sure that people recognize it and appreciate it. And it's a tricky thing because it can lead to sort of a bragging, which nobody likes. But a balance need to be maintained where you are showing that okay, this is what I do, this was the outcome, and this much effort I have to put up, but not in a bragging way, that hey, I did this, I did that.
Yes. I think walking away would require a lot of mental preparation, and if done correctly, instead of going on extremes, could help you. Basically, being assertive can help you. Being assertive and educating the work that you have done, the extra work that you have done, and making it visible for others, making it acknowledgeable for others. I'm giving a benefit of doubt that because, let's say, some project required all hands on table and required all eyes on the text, it may have been that people did not notice what extra work you did. And let's just say, in good faith, this is the context here. You become assertive, advocate the extra work that you have done along with the tasks that were given to you, agreed or assigned to you. This will show up as a self leadership attempt, that you are leading yourself with integrity, you're advocating your work, and you're also very clear. I think another thing that I will add from my side is learn how to say no for the work which might become hindrance in the work that you have to do. You have to learn how to say no, and you have to become comfortable sometimes disappointing people by saying no, and also understanding that it may come with a price. But you need to understand, you need to have that clarity that okay, it will hinder my work, and my work is also important, or at least learn, on top of saying no, how to negotiate it. So that is where I think that could help. Do you want to add anything that comes up, or if anything from audience who would like to add?
Yeah. So as people are time, so I think you correctly put out that making your work visible is and saying no to the things that are not your responsibility, or that would take so much effort out of you that it's going to become a issue later on. And I think I would like to plug in our I think last to last conversation we had on how to say no, uh, where we discuss techniques how to say no without sabotaging the relationship. So I think that conversation is definitely people need to revisit in a sense. And I think there are something also that people can do, that so that it does not becomes like a bragging thing. So I think rather than using words like that, hey, I stayed late fixing the dashboard, you can say that, hey, to keep the project on track, I had done that, and now we'll get the more accurate data from tomorrow. So now it's outcome based, not just showing your sacrifice. It's showing that what you did leads to the better outcomes on the things.
Yeah. Strategically putting out how your contribution, the extra work you have done, will add value to the project or the outcome. And since, again, we are talking in a very generical umbrella sense, the discussion is happening on a very umbrella sense. So there might be things that, or there might be context where more nuanced approach would require, depending on the person's role. The person could be a manager, person could be a team lead. Now you may have to be very clear with the briefs, delegate the task, or things like that. But let's say somebody who is a team member, they cannot delegate the work, but they can negotiate the work with their superior, their team lead. Be assertive, strategically assertive, and things like that. So I do want to acknowledge that what we are discussing, it's a very it's a very different context. and some roles, some context might need nuanced approach. And again, that goes for context to context. And I think I have realized in my own life with my own work that majority of people face challenge with being assertive and learning how to say no. Even if this is the start, let's say for somebody who has experienced something of this, or somebody who is starting their career, if I start with that context, if you understand these two aspects and learn how to navigate and learn how to have tools to navigate in this context, it is possible that you will be carving a good path in your career, building a credibility where, let's say, you have done extra work, then you are advocating it. You're being assertive about it without bragging about it and without also not talking about it. At times, learning how to say no or negotiating the workload. If this is where somebody can start with, that is also a good progress, I would say. Now, if I give you a context, let's say somebody who has started the work, their career, somewhere they are in the mid level career, what would you suggest? Like two things.
I think that goes to the crux of our conversation is that be reliable to the tasks that are your responsibility, right? Take the ownership of the work that is assigned to you, that is uh, well within what is required out of you. Be very reliable for that work, but create a boundary around it also, so that you don't get overwhelmed, or you are not doing other people's work also without much benefit, and they are not learning their work, which is an issue in itself. So I think the way I'm picturing is create a circle and be very reliable inside that circle, but have a clear boundaries that this is my work and I'm going to give my best to that work. But whatever comes out of the purview of the work, I'll choose on the case to case basis if that is something I can handle, or if that is something I should handle, or if that can lead to outcome that I want.
Yeah. And I think overall, don't compromise with your visibility. Be visible, I think, throughout your span of career. I think that brings us, or I think that brings us to a point where we are nearing the end, I feel, because we have addressed many angles and we have come to a point where if somebody wants to walk away with at least one or two things in different contexts, they should at least have that. On top of that, they can always bring a solution that works for them, their personality, their context, their team settings, and things like that. But somewhere the envelope has moved forward, I feel. Any closing remarks from your side? You are on mute.
Yeah. So I think we have had a good discussion. We covered why being too reliable becomes an issue, how it becomes an issue, and how it can affect the people around you, and where the leadership actually plays the role in that. What probably goes inside that person to play that role, and probably how that person can come out of that thing. So I think very much we covered the whole conversation. So to end it, I would like to Thank you, Akansha, for joining me. See you in the next.
Yep. Bye bye.